a slightly long kind of educational look into writing and harmonizing a melody. And again, I'm going to apologize in advance for the low light and the sort of do-it-yourself. I've got the music here that we're going to be looking at, and I'm right here. And I just want to set up that I've been going through this phase over the last 3 years where I've been going back to the basics and really developing an appreciation and love for simple melodies. I think a lot of people, a lot of composers, a lot of musicians, when they're young, we want to just be different. We want to be new. We want to be complex and play fast. And so I went through that period, and I've seen a lot of other composers like Bill Frisell, for example, or Pat Metheny. They have these jazz backgrounds and jazz roots, but they love going back to the simplicity of a gorgeous melody telling a story. And what can they do with that when they harmonize it and take it out of the traditional setting, still have sort of a paying tribute to that traditional setting, but bring their own conversational harmonizational language into that. I think Pat Metheny and Bill Frisell have done that very well while honoring the original melody. So what I've been doing is challenging myself to write melodies that are completely diatonic, no chromatic tones, that tell a story and can stand on themselves. A lot of music, you kind of have to hear the whole thing. You have to hear all the parts for it to work. And Beethoven's that way a lot. If you play that, you notice the melody goes down. Other music, you can strip away the melody, and the melody in itself is enough and tells a story. So I've been having fun just getting back to the basics and writing a singable melody, and then starting from that place of that singable melody, writing a harmonization or an arrangement of that melody that is moving to me, where I can really feel something, and I can feel the colors and the sounds that I really like to use, but not go too far out that it's just sort of like, look at me, I'm doing all these weird harmonization techniques and things like that. So it's this fun sort of kind of line to follow where there's a little bit that's challenging to the ear, a little bit, not challenging, but sort of sensual to the ear, but not too far out. So a lot of times I'll listen to reference recordings, bluegrass groups or Alison Krauss, and just to hear the simplicity of a 3-chord arrangement and how that is enough and how much that can communicate. In terms of the structure, there's so much more that's going on top of those 3 chords that just make it so beautiful. The performance, the interactions of the musicians, the overlap of the instruments. So one of the things I want to mention is, that I've been really inspired. Pat Metheny's real book was given to me as a birthday gift from CJ, a friend of mine, 2 years ago. And this is just a treasure trove. And I'm going to play a couple melodies from Metheny to show that he was trying to get away from that traditional jazz big band kind of sound, which is this kind of thing, right? And ask the question: is there something more that we can do? So obviously the classical composers have been all over the map, and they've had many different harmonic systems going all the way back to J.S. Bach. So I'm hoping this is coming through. Let me just check here. If anybody has any questions, if the audio needs fixing, let me know. Okay. I'm assuming that we're coming through okay. Anyway, so, but we've had composers like Debussy that have made, or Ravel. If you think of Bolero, that whole first part of that melody is the diatonic scale, and you get so much mileage out of that diatonic scale and still sounds like Ravel. So it just goes to show that there's plenty of permutations of the diatonic scale still left to explore, like millions, probably billions. I'm sure that some math person has figured it out, but so I've had this inquiry: well, what makes a good melody, and how can it tell a good story? And just get in there and look at melodies, and some of the things I've noticed in traditional melodies say from Ireland or from Appalachia, they tend to focus in on what we call a pentatonic scale. So you've got this. So this is 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. And that has that flavor of being Appalachian or from Europe, from Ireland. Now, so if I add in the rest of the notes, you have this, right? You have this, and these two notes are the notes that you've got a tritone. So you've got this note, which is fa. So do re mi fa. That really takes you out of the key in a way, not out of the key, but out of sort of that pentatonic flavor. So you'll notice that a lot of those melodies very sparingly use the T and the fa. And when they use it, it's like, okay, we're gonna really color this melody now. But they keep in this, the pentatonic is kind of a neutral sound, I guess that's what you would say. And once you hit this in there, right, there's some tension created with the overtone. So if you think of Come Thou Font, right, all that's pentatonic. The whole first part of the melody. Now here, now finally on that part, the B section of the melody, he's going to the T. So it's adding some just longing of going up to the do, and then back down. So it's really telling a story. But the person who wrote this melody never uses the fa in there. Not the, yes, which would be this note. It's all just these 5 notes and then the leading tone or the T. See, that just really wants to resolve there. So it's been fun to sort of just like look at these melodies and ask the question, you know, I mean, this is all just theory, and maybe it doesn't mean anything in itself. You know, there's so much more to music than theory. I mean, I will say that. Absolutely, so much more. But it's fun to kind of look under the hood and see some of these tendencies, and then try to create a melody yourself. And a lot of what I'm doing is sort of like walking the line again. You know, I'm thinking of some theory, but I'm also going, do I like how it sounds? Do I like how it feels? Do I like where this is going emotionally when I'm trying to write a melody? Sometimes I'll just pick up the iPhone and I'll just start singing a melody into the voice recorder and completely, maybe even don't even know what I'm singing, but just going with where I feel like the melody wants to go. So this melody that I'm going to share with you right here, Garden by the Sea, was that idea. I woke up one morning, had the first part of the melody, and I just sang it, and then I took a risk. Just like when you do an improvisation, you just go. You follow where your ear wants to go. There's no analyzation. You follow it. Then I went back and I wrote out some of the fragments of the melody, and I worked with it for a while to see if I could craft a story out of it. So what we're doing today is we're looking at that melody, and we're going to see if I can do anything more with it harmonically to walk that line between it sounding like something I would do and still be a tribute to traditional music, traditional melodies, melodies that people can sing, melodies that have a heart connection, that make you feel something. So, you know, again, my first goal was just to make that melody by itself say something. Is that light bothering you right there? Should I move it? All right. So let's just look at the melody. So what we're going to do here is, I really believe in 3 chords and the truth, which means that, you know, like most traditional melodies can be harmonized with just 3 chords. There's basically 3 chords, and any other chords outside of that are either substitutions or just ornaments of those 3 chords. So we can start from that place and just hear this melody if it were like a hymnal and somebody was, or in a hymnal and somebody's playing it out of church. Oh, anyway, this Pat Metheny book, to go backwards again, I've been inspired to start to put together kind of my own songbook of my music over the past 30 years. So I'm working on a book, volume 1 of tunes. This tune will be in it. So if it's something you want to get, you want to know about when that book's going to be released, be sure you get on our tribe list, stringsattachedmusic.net, and, you know, follow on all the different places. The main way to do it is get on the tribe list, because then when we have the Bill Taylor Songbook Volume 1, you'll be notified and you can get a copy of that. It'll have references to all the recordings, and so this song is going to be a part of that book, by the way. It hasn't been recorded yet, but we're looking forward to recording it. And it's just so fun to get back with these basic melodies and just explore all the possibilities. That's what I was thinking about it. It's about possibilities. What possibilities can we create from a simple melody? What can we do? So let's just first start and take the song, the melody, with basically 3 chords and see what that sounds like, okay? All right. I'm going to just play it all root position chords, basically. All root position. I know somebody's going to say, use more than 3 chords. I think that's all I got. Okay, I'm going to go to the B section. 4 chord, 1. So maybe there's 4 chords. Yeah, there's 4 chords. Play a G there. So that's our starting place. And, you know, if it was being played at church, that would just be fine. And of course, some church hymns have more interesting things, or not interesting, more complex harmonies. You might hear things going on like that. So I'm going to go through here and just see what are some possibilities, and you're going to get to see kind of my thinking and feeling process about working through this, and to get to a place where I feel like I've got some harmonies that speak to my way of hearing music, but still honor the original idea, which is traditional music. So first thing is like, let's just go through all the different possibilities. That first chord, we're in D. We could also start on B minor. We could start, right? So I'm looking at the melody, and I'm looking at what chord tones would those fit into. So if I want to start with a more real traditional harmonization, I'm looking at the chord tones. What chords do they belong to? So that first measure could be B minor. And remember that strong beats, we want to have chord tones, and weak beats, we want to have non-chord tones. So on the weak beats, we are moving toward a chord tone. It's all about dissonance and resolution, right? Almost all music is based on this idea, from Stravinsky all the way up to hip hop, Beatles, everything. So with this kind of traditional writing, so do I want to start in a minor chord? Depends on what is the first impression I want to give. And I'm kind of leaning toward just starting with a D because I have a lot of sad pieces. So even though this is in D in a major key, it still has that kind of longing quality to it. So I guess I have a little bit of a bias that I want to create more happy music, Will Taylor happy music, you know. So one thing that I could do is to create some variety, to create more of a journey effect, is when we have the repeat, when we come back here, I could play a B minor there to add a little variation and sort of create a little bit of intrigue, you know, like, oh, okay, we're going somewhere else. I could do that. Okay, so now one of the things I like to do is I'm actually going to list. I'm getting a list here. Let's talk, actually, before I get into the harmony, let's just look at the melody for a second. If you notice, the melody is all in the key of D major. And if anybody has any comments, I'm on my page, Will Taylor page. Just make a comment. I'll check them. So there are no chromatic tones. This melody is it's kind of like Amazing Grace, Shoken Farewell. Actually, Shoken Farewell does have one chromatic tone. Come Thou Font. This melody tells a story with just 7 notes. Now, Pat Metheny does that on some of his pieces, but he also does something which I'm going to explore in other music. So I just want to give you an example of a simple melody that basically kind of weaves around and starts departing from the original key that it started with. This is not what this is, but so here's a Pat Metheny melody. So it starts going somewhere else. Sorry. So you can see it's telling a story, but it is going kind of all over the place. You know, when we start, that could could be C major, right? Right? But the harmony that he puts around it is very much out of C major. So that's one approach that I'm going to explore more of, which is a real simple melody that seems to organically and naturally go somewhere else harmonically by itself. But this melody that I wrote right here, all diatonic. All right, so let me get my sheet. One of the things, here's some of the things that I might use to create a new harmonization here is relative chords. I want to create movements, not just stacked chords, but movements like suspensions and things like that. I might want to create something that's chromatic in the harmony. It's outside of D, that gives a feeling of drama and movement. I might want to use chords that are kind of jazzy, that sound good to my ear, but still honor that melody. I want to use inversions, and I want to use pedal points. So the first thing I'm going to show you is pedal point. This first phrase has opportunity for pedal point. So if I start off, right? So that whole first section I did over a D pedal. I could do it up an octave. I kind of like it. And then that, A over C sharp. Sounds pretty nice to me. Now this one, I'm looking at the B minor, and if I were on the piano, I don't necessarily want to play that F sharp in octaves. So maybe I'll play a B minor 7. There's an inversion. So I tried doing an A over E, but don't like that. So what I'm going to do is write up all the different possibilities and see what we can come up with. So let's start from a clean piece of paper here. So we could do D and then G over D. Oh, this is not the best of all possible worlds. A over C sharp. And one thing I do like about the B minor here is we've got a nice root movement going on with the bass line. So it's static. Maybe I should put this more like that. So here. So you can see we started with the D, and then the bass line starts to go down. Right? So those first couple of measures, it's moving down. So we got from the G. Now, on the original part I did, I went to a D over F sharp, which is really nice. I do like that because that's keeping that bass line going down. Downward. D over F sharp. And then A here. Okay. Now, let's just explore in this first phrase, what are some other alternate chords that we could use, right, that would work. So we have, in the key of D, we've got some different minor chords. We've got the F sharp minor. If I could play F sharp minor, where could we use an F sharp minor? Where could we use an E minor? All of these two minor chords sound great. And then we've got there's 3 minor chords in a major key, right? We've got 2, 3, and 6. So we've got E minor, F sharp minor, B minor. You know, what would it sound like if I started on that first chord with an F sharp minor? You know, no, it doesn't work, right? Because we're not in F sharp minor, we're in D. And we're doing this, we're playing according to the traditional music values. If I was playing a jazz thing, I might, you know, do any number of weird things. I might go even that, right? I might do something like that. But here I'm trying to, again, honor the traditional music. Okay, so What if I did a B minor? We already talked about that. I didn't want to start. What about E minor? That's kind of nice, but again, it's a little tense, a little jazzy for this moment. I might revisit that later. So I wish I had a pedal. I kind of like that sound, that the voicing that's happening there. So let's say if I go to a G there, and then I go to a D over F sharp, and then a regular A here, and then now I can start making a bass line going up. Now that G now became an A over C sharp is an idea. So I'm going to put it down as a possibility. I might have an A on this. I might just go D, G, putting down all my possibilities. What if on this we did a root movement of a fifth? So we played an E minor on this. This is going to sound a little more jazzy because these tones, the A and the F sharp, are really implying what? Pretty much a D, a tonic, D major, right? But what would it sound like if I were playing like an E minor? Something like that. It's kind of nice, right? And it moves nicely to the A. Y'all have heard of deceptive cadence, right? I could do an F sharp, minor 11 here. Now, how far out do we want to go is the question. I'm not going to do this whole thing right now because this would take forever, but I'll just do the first phrase. All right. And it's about like, what is the setting I want to create? You know, I want to create, I'm feeling like it's something sparse. I want to have the heartstrings kind of pulled, but I don't want to just be playing block chords like that, right? Right? That's what I'm feeling. How can I make that happen then? So let the melody be by itself. That's kind of why I like doing that pedal point. See? It's a little uncertain where we are now. And that's like the first kind of major change right there. And that's actually an A2 over C sharp. There's a B in there. Now, so I'm liking where I'm going so far. Now that A in there, I could keep that when I go to the B minor 7 on the next, right here. Now some of you out there are like, well, just write some chords and just leave it. Yeah, I could do that, that's fine, but it's fun sometimes to like explore all of the possibilities and see what nuggets we might come up with. And I know, I'm kind of ADD going all over the place, but this is very, very common with creative folks, right? And that's why we have to write this stuff down. But one of the things that just occurred to me is that what I like are pieces, traditional pieces that stick to a slightly predictable chord progression. So your body kind of feels where it's going, and then you throw in a single chord that kind of makes you go, oh, what's that? So I'm kind of trying to create that, and I think one way to do that is just with that E minor sound, because it sort of has this nice pause. It's not sad, but it's sort of like peaceful relaxation, right? So I'm thinking, like, where can I put that E minor? I already did it earlier in the version that I showed you. Yeah, so ultimately is to come up with a basic chord progression with one curveball in there. Maybe it has a chromatic tone in it, maybe not, and then let the players do their thing. Let them add their magic to it. Keep it simple, not try to overcomplicate and over-direct by writing these complex chords. Now here's another thing occurred to me. If I go to the 4 chord there, one way to throw in a chromatic tone is that I could do I could make the 1 chord a dominant chord and put a C in there, which leads down to that. So like, it's very common use, right? Let's try it out and see what it sounds like. It's kind of nice. It's kind of a little gospel-y, right? but it's sort of taking me out of that really nice pentatonic sound, like the other tune that I mentioned, Come Thou Font. So let's keep it simple. Now I just put a 6th degree in there, which is nice. So maybe I want to go. So like that's a movement. When I was talking earlier about movements, it's when you have inner voices doing things. So I like that 6th degree in there, so I'm actually going to put G and then G6 to help me remember. But I could also write it down here with this bass, the bass line. Put E. So I think my handwriting's hard to read. Look at Beethoven. I just like that going up, right? And then do you have a F sharp, maybe? It's kind of nice. Going, okay. Keeps it simple. Now I'm going to have the bass line go up. Sorry. Not really liking where that's going. So we go here. Let's see. Of course, you know, like 2 days later, I might come back and hate that E in there. If I could do a little suspension there. So. That seems a little too much to have that suspension in there. Let's see if I do. What about E minor? It's kind of cool, but that F sharp doesn't seem right against it. But what if I made a movement? That seems like a little too much. We want to keep the chords simple. That's what's going on in my brain. So we got A. Nope, I don't like that. What if I kept it, the B minor there? That whole 2 bars could fit. Okay, now so I did a movement in the left hand. So if we go, let's see, and that's a little too much. So that's really a G over B. See? So I'm going to write that in. That kind of simplifies it. So what was I doing? Okay, so it goes up to a G in the bass here, and then an A. So we got a nice 6th between those 2 notes. All right. That's kind of nice. I like that little suspension. So it's the D over A. We call it 1 6 4 5. That really pleases my ear. So we got. All right. So that's going to be a D over A. And then A here, normal. So we're doing B minor for those 2 measures, except right here. And then D over A, that's a beautiful sound. So here's from the top. That's it. I like that. I think we'll leave it at that for now. Thanks for watching. If you like this kind of thing, if you want to hear more, share the video. Become a member of our tribe at stringsattachedmusic.net. If you're interested in getting the Will Taylor songbook, which I'm working on right now, which is music of mine over the last 30 years in sheet music form. And I'd love to hear your comments, and want to communicate with me. I love communicating with you folks. So just you know how to reach me. Right there, make a comment or send a direct message. Thanks for watching, and please come see us on Tuesday nights at 7:30 and Wednesday at 1 for Strings Attached at Home on all the channels.